we've been continuing drilling since then. So there's more joy to come, I think, as far as drilling, and we'll keep those drills turning as long as we can this year to continue to expand it.
Well, hello, welcome to Assay TV. Today, I'm delighted to be joined once again by Joe Hamilton, who is the president and CEO of Unigold, Inc. Unigold have a project in the Dominican Republic, the Candelones Project. And Joe, great to see you today. We spoke reasonably recently, but you've just put out a new resource estimate on the project. And today, I'd like you to if you could just take us through some of the highlights of that.
Well, thanks, Leo. Yeah, we did. The last time I spoke to you, we had just put out the preliminary economic assessment for the oxide portion of the deposit, which is a standalone project, and we intend to move forward with that fairly firmly. But the larger resource that's available is the sulfide project. So we just updated the sulfide resource that's available to us. It came in at about 2.2 million ounces of gold with about 100 million pounds of copper and about 4 million ounces of silver in that resource. The most important part of that resource, however, is that we managed to move just over 1 million ounces into the measured and indicated category, and that sets us up nicely for doing mine planning throughout the rest of this year.
Absolutely, because I believe, your last resource estimate, the one which was put out in sort of 2013, that was quite a lot smaller than this. I think we were talking about sort of 800,000 ounces of silver, as opposed to now you're talking about over 2 million ounces. So a real sort of step up in terms of the size.
Well, that's correct. Most of the drilling that we've done since 2015 has been infill drilling within the resource envelope. And in 2016, we recognized high-grade sections that had much higher grades of gold with accompanying silver and copper as well. So we were really concentrating on drilling those higher-grade areas within the pit, which is where most of the infill drilling was. And it's principally those areas that moved into measured and indicated. Obviously, the drill spacing was closer. So, within the resource, we've got the resource itself is averaging about 1.59, 1.6 grams of gold per ton for the global resource. However, there is about 700,000 ounces in higher grade blocks that are within the pit and slightly under the pit. And those blocks are running about 4 grams to 4.5 grams of gold per ton. So, those higher grade areas are what are really attracting us. And I think they'll ultimately drive the mine schedules and how the pits are ultimately designed.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, you've been able to move your resources into the measured and indicated, but you've also done a lot of work about moving some of your ounces, to, I think 310,000 ounces from an underground mining scenario into an open pit scenario. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's right, Leo. It's sort of a function of drilling the higher grade material. When doing the resource estimates, the pits will dive a bit deeper on the higher grade material, and the higher grades we encountered were subvertical. So of course the pits go a bit deeper. So some of that underground material that was included in the 2013 estimate fell within the optimized pit boundaries this time around, which moved some of it up. We also lost, I think, some ounces in the underground as well. That the reporting guidelines changed in 2019, so a few years ago, such that the underground blocks that are included in any kind of resource estimate have to be, I think the phrase is continuous and contiguous, so that those blocks, some blocks that we had that were pretty far away from anything else, were ignored in the resource estimate. So part of the job that we have over the rest of this year is to tap some drill time to moving some more of those higher grade intercepts into the measured and indicated category, as well as filling in some areas in the underground to add some more ounces there.
Absolutely. And I understand that you still have sort of 15 holes that are still in the assay labs. So those weren't able to be included in the resource update. So this story is still sort of, I guess, unfolding in a way.
Well, the drills are still turning. We still have 4 drills actively turning and expanding the mineralization to the east, where we're encountering more oxide mineralization, which is interesting. We didn't expect it over on that side of the mineralization. We're also finding more high grade areas just below surface and extending the lower grade disseminated mineralization off to the east. So far, it's been extended about 350 meters to the east, and it's much closer to surface there. So any kind of a waste ratio on that side of the pit is going to be much lower. So the drills are still turning, and as long as that's happening, I think we can continue to expand the mineralization. But the 15 drill holes that we had in hand we cut off as of December 31st was the cutoff date for including any drilling in the resource estimate. We've been continuing with drilling since then. So there's more joy to come, I think, as far as drilling, and we'll keep those drills turning as long as we can this year to continue to expand it.
And your drilling costs are not too bad, yeah?
Well, I think we may have some of the lowest drilling costs in the industry, quite frankly. We own our own drills, and the drillers that we employ are local drillers in the Dominican Republic, and we trained them in sort of 2008 through 2011. They're some of the best drillers I've ever worked with. Their recoveries are fantastic. They're very conscientious. Their safety record is almost perfect. But as a result, our all-in drilling costs are about $125 a meter. And that includes assays and geology. So, it includes the geological logging and everything else. And those are Canadian dollars. Which if you want to put it in terms of US dollars, it's probably about 85 or 90 US dollars a meter, which is, I think we can make an investor's dollar go pretty far as drilling is concerned.
And as you said, as you own those drilling rigs, they're not going to suddenly disappear and go and work on someone else's project.
Not a chance. No, those are, if anything, we'd be looking to add to those drill rigs. We still have 15 pretty high priority regional targets, which, we've always said we'll move out on to later this year and start looking at those regional targets. We will require more drills for that, whether we are able to mold them into country or whether we have to use the drills we've got. Drills around the world right now are getting very hard to get, as well as consumables, bits, drill steel, drilling mud. It's all getting difficult as commodity prices go up. It's usually what happens. So we're quite happy that we own our own drills because, they'll be dedicated to us in any case.
Absolutely. So your next sort of steps for 2021, you put this resource estimate out. What should we be looking out for next?
Well, the next catalyst that we see coming this year is we're doing phase 2 metallurgy now. We have yet to finalize a process path for this material. There's at least 3 different styles of mineralization that we find, and they all behave somewhat differently metallurgically. The ultimate metallurgical pathway, I think, is going to be based on blending, based on mining rates and blending. So it's going to be fairly, I wouldn't say complicated, but it'll be complex with a number of stockpiles on surface where we'll be blending before it goes into a mill. So that just means the mine plan is going to be a little bit longer. So what we're planning on doing for the rest of this year is we'll get those metallurgical results, and then we will, look at setting up the mine plan to understand what our production rates look like and what the transition between open pit and underground looks like as well for the sulfide mineralization. In the meantime, we're continuing with, moving the oxide project through detailed engineering, and we will be commencing the EIA and the community relations in the second half of this year as well to try to move that through the permitting. As I said, the oxide portion of the deposit is a standalone. It's a small, $36 million capital expenditure. It's only about an 8-month build. So it's a project that probably won't have much capital creep. And we'd like to think that we could get it constructed in sort of 8 to 10 months in country. So, if everything goes according to plan, by the end of this year, we should be able to deliver the final feasibility study on the oxide. We should be able to demonstrate at least a processing path for the sulfide metallurgy, and then start talking about production rates and what we think we can get out of the sulfides when we're there. In the meantime, there should be exploration results as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the strategy of the company is get the oxide project, simple oxide project up and running, at the same time be working on the slightly more complex, sort of bigger, larger sulfide project underneath.
Absolutely. The sulfide project is the big win for shareholders, but the oxide project lets us train employees and lets us get our supply line set up in country. And that's just as important before we embark on the much larger, higher capital sulfide project. So it's sort of putting training wheels on our bicycle, I think.
Absolutely. Well, exciting year ahead for the company. Thank you very much for joining us today for that update. Joe Hamilton of Unigold.
Thank you, Leo.